Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're continuing on the series with reciprocating saw blades, and in that series, we're looking at the thick metal cutting reciprocating saw blades, and we're also looking at the, the hard material cutting stuff. Mainly because almost all the major brand reciprocating saw blade makers, regardless of the brand, are pretty much going to be able to cut through anything that's pretty much soft and easy, like sheet metal, EMT, conduit, unistrut, whatever it is, all that, soft stuff. All the blades are probably going to be able to cut through that, not a problem. So, nobody really wants to answer those questions. The question people really want to answer is which blades are the best. And if you're trying to figure out which blades are the best, you got to cut through the thick, hard steels, okay? So if you've been following the series on this sub-series, we've been taking a look at cutting spring steel or leaf spring material pretty much off an F-150. So we're continuing in that series today. And in that series, we're going to be taking a look at today what a lot of people consider the best when it comes to reciprocating saw blades or cutting blade accessories, right? So we're going to be taking a look at things from Freud Corporation, which pretty much is Diablo. So Diablo brand is pretty much a brand from Freud, and Freud technically is owned by Robert Bosch, but none of that stuff really matters because what we really care about is the performance of the blades, okay? So just in case you want to know, this video is not sponsored. Nobody sent this to us. We test all this stuff with our own monies and buy it with our own monies, so there is that, okay? But anyways, going back to the point, we got a carbide-tipped Steel Demon reciprocating saw blade from Diablo. This blade is Swiss made. We're going to test this, and then we're also going to test the amped version of the same blade. The amped version is also Swiss made, and it's supposed to be better than the Steel Demon, right? So the question is the amped really stand up to the hype, or is it just as good as the Steel Demon? So those are the questions we're going to answer today by trying to cut the spring steel 3 times. Let's see if these blades can make it through, and if they do make it through, let's see how quickly they can make it through and how long they last. So if you're interested, you don't want to miss this, stick with us. So this right here is a 6-inch extreme metal cutting blade from Diablo. This blade is designed to cut thick metal 3/16 to 1/2 inch, and it is designed to cut cast iron, high strength alloys, and stainless steel. This blade is carbide tipped and is designed for thick metal cutting as exactly printed on this blade, okay? This blade is 8 TPI and the model number on this one is DS0608CF, okay? If you look at the back side here, it'll say this blade is Swiss made, and just in case it wasn't so obvious, we already ran through the test on this blade, so we'll go ahead and see what that looks like. But if you want to go take a close look at the teeth, you can see the teeth are here. If you look at the back side here, you can tell the little bits of carbide that are welded onto each teeth, right? So you can kind of see that process there. That's what the teeth do look like. If you want to look at the offset, it's got the traditional Diablo tooth offset, which is almost exactly what it looks like on a lot of the other carbide tipped blades, I would say. But that's what it does look like, okay? The blade design, it's got like this full type tang that comes all the way from here, full cross, and then it has this like mouthpiece looking thing here. So that's what this looks like. If you want to move on to the amped version, I'll tell you right now, just in case it wasn't obvious, the amped version in this blade is almost exactly the same in the non-amped version, right? You can see it's exactly the same. I can layer them right on top of another, right? And you can see they are exactly the same. The teeth match up perfectly, okay? So are these probably made in the same factory using the same stamps and materials? Probably. The main difference may be either the makeup of the carbide itself or how they put the carbide on there. We'll have to find that out, right? But these two blades are pretty much exactly the same except for maybe that part. So let's go take a look at it. So this is the 6-inch thick metal carbide tipped blade from Diablo, designed to cut the same type of stuff here. Extreme metal cutting, 3/16 to, I think that says 9/16, right? Yeah, 3/16 to 9/16. If you can't read it on there, it's not because the camera's not in focus, it's just printed very unclearly on here. So this blade can cut thicker metal than this one, because this one only says 3/16 to 1/2 inch, whereas this actually says to 9/16. So this one will cut a little bit thicker, at least according to the marketing. Same type of material, cast iron, high strength alloys, and stainless steel. And this is carbide teeth, as obviously talked about earlier, but this one is amped, okay? So it's amped up, guys. But anyways, this is 8 TPI blade, and the model number on this one is DS0608CFA. like I said, it's not that the camera's not in focus, it's just not printed very well. So the model number on this one is DS0608CF. The amped one just has an A after it, and they're both 8 TPI, as you would imagine. The amped blade at the back here, it says it's also Swiss made. And just in case we can't read that, it says max 3,100 strokes per minute, okay? If you look at the back one on here, it doesn't say. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, who knows? But we're running the Sawzall in low speed, so hopefully we're making that work. But the point is, these two blades, if I can grab them, are pretty much identical clones except for maybe the carbide teeth. So let's go to testing and see what it actually says. All right, let's take a look at the damage done to these blades. So this right here is the carbide tipped non-amped version. If you look on the right side here, we see all the parts, the teeth that have carbide on them. And if you look at the part that's been used here, all the carbide has been, you know, pretty much sheared off, and the teeth have pretty much flattened out. If you see right here, all of these teeth are just flattened out, all gone. Look at it this way, all the teeth gone. Look at it this way, carbide welded on there. Okay, so that's the carbide tip non-amped version. If you look at the amped version, it tells a little bit of a different story, mainly because the amped version has most of the carbide bits still there. Sure, the carbide bits, you know, have a little bit of damage, have a little bit of wear, some of the teeth may be chipped, right, versus what it should look like here, but all the carbide pieces or the teeth are still existing. And that's the primary difference, what helps it keep cutting or not, okay? For some reason, some of the goo or the cutting fluid or the mock blue cutting fluid or whatever you want to call that stuff kind of, you know, stuck on here a little bit more. Maybe it had to do with the coating, maybe it didn't, but that's the main difference, right? So if we take a look at it compared to the amped version on the bottom, the amped version on the bottom, you know, obviously has more teeth left. The blades in terms of design are almost exactly the same, but the amped version still has carbide bits here, whereas the non-amped version does not. Now, the amped version is the one in front, right? So you can see carbide tips versus the parts that don't have carbide. And that's the main difference. So let's go take a look at it and see what the numbers say. All right, so that test was pretty interesting. It had some really unexpected results. Let's go take a look at the numbers, all right? So first, we ran the Diablo Steel Demon, the DS0608CF, and it is a carbide-tipped 8 TPI blade. On the first run, it took 39.15 seconds. Second run, 106.10 seconds. And on the third run, it just did not finish, okay? So I don't know what really happened. That's something we just completely did not expect. So if you take an average of the 3 runs, we got 2 runs that completed and another run that just didn't complete, even though the third run, we actually let it run for roughly about 179 plus seconds. Okay, so we let it run for a while and just wasn't able to complete. Even if you look at the difference between run 1 and run 2, it looks like it was pretty much well damaged inside those 2 runs, mainly because we went from 39 seconds to 106 seconds, which is more than doubled the time it took for the first cut, right? So it took on a lot of damage there, okay? Then we ran the Steel Demon amped version, all right? So it's also the same 8 TPI blade. And remember, the model number ends with an A. It's pretty much the same blade, but has an A appended to it, all right? So on the first run, it was 37.57 seconds. Then on the second run, it was 57.18 seconds. Then on the third run, it was 80.62 seconds, okay? So the average of the 3 runs, if you average them out, was about 58.46 seconds. And this blade, both of these blades are obviously made in Switzerland, and we don't have anything else to say, mainly because, you know, that went pretty well. So if you go take a look at the numbers, 37.57 on the first run to 57 on the second run, that was roughly about a 20-second difference, right? And then you move from, you know, let's say close to 60 to run 3, which is about 80. So that's about roughly another 22, 23 seconds. So yes, the amped Steel Demon definitely seems to last longer, seems to cut just a little bit faster than the regular carbide tipped blade. But where do they stack in the leaderboard? Let's go take a look at that, all right? So if you take a look at the leaderboard, the Steel Demon, it just did not finish the 3 runs. So it obviously has a did not finish in there, okay? So the Diablo Steel Demon is actually in last place for the carbide tipped blades, mainly because it did complete 2 runs and then failed on the 3rd run, okay? So why are we putting it behind the Elite Series? Because I'll throw up some shots. If you look at the last cut from the DeWalt series, Elite Series, and the Diablo Steel Demon, the Elite Series actually made it further in the 3rd cut than the Steel Demon Diablo did in its 3rd cut, right? So you could look at it that way, or you could look at it and say, you know, the Diablo really should be ahead because on the first cut, it was 39 seconds, whereas the DeWalt Elite Series was 47 seconds. Hey, and if that's how you want to look at it, feel free to look at it that way. You can rearrange the leaderboard that way if you want to. But you know, as we talked about in the DeWalt video, it looks like pretty much a copy of the Lennox CT blade. So you know, that could be a thing, but who knows if they're using the same compounds. Anyways, the point is the DeWalt and the Diablo Steel Demon are pretty much both in last place for carbide tipped blades, mainly because they both failed on the third run. Okay, it's pretty much tied, right? So the question really is now is how much better is the amped blade? Well, if we take a look at the numbers on the leaderboard, let's add them up, and bam, it puts it in second place, actually, right behind the Milwaukee Torch nitrus carbide tipped blade. Okay, so the Milwaukee Torch nitrus carbide tipped blade on its 3 runs had 24, 30, and 38. And if you average it 3 runs, it came out to 31 seconds on average, right? The Diablo Steel Demon Amped had an average of 58 seconds, okay? And that's across 3 runs. The Torch nitrus carbide is made in the USA. The DeWalt or the Diablo is made in Switzerland, and then right behind the Diablo in third place is the Lennox Laser CT, which has an average, or the total performance score, whatever you want to look at it, as 60 seconds, right? So that's 3 cuts ranging between 38, 48, and 93, in you know, averaging it out, took about 60 seconds on average. That blade is also made in the USA, and we tested that blade in episode 11, in case you wanted to go back and look at that. Could that blade be a little bit faster? Probably, mainly because we used a 9-inch blade, because that's what we found, or what we had. But if you got a 6-inch blade, you probably wouldn't have to feather the trigger as much, and you could probably get the same time, or not better, or maybe the same as the Diablo. Anyways, the point is, the leaderboard now looks like the Torch nitrus carbide, then the Steel Demon Amped, then the Laser CT, then followed up by the Milwaukee Torch carbide, which still completed the 3 runs in the spring steel. Like I said earlier, the DeWalt Elite Series and the Diablo Steel Demon are 2 carbide tipped blades that did not make it on its 3rd cut, okay? So that's what the leaderboard really has to say, all right? So what can we say about these blades, all right? So obviously Diablo is considered, you know, one of the leading manufacturers of carbide tipped blades, or cutting accessories, let's just say that. And did they deliver in this episode? They probably did. If you look at it, you know, the Steel Demon Amped, their best of the best, technically, for thick metal cutting or hard metal cutting, whatever you want to look at it, is in second place, right behind the Milwaukee nitrus carbide, okay? But wow, I will say that's a big difference, the nitrus carbide versus the Steel Demon Amped, because we're talking about 31 seconds versus 58 seconds. That's pretty big. If you take a look at the 3rd cut that each of those made, the nitrus carbide made it in 38 seconds, whereas the Diablo Steel Demon Amped made it in 80 seconds, okay? That's a pretty big difference. That is not something that we had expected. You know, that just completely blew our mind. So whatever in the world Milwaukee is doing with this nitrus carbide tip stuff, it actually seems to be doing really good. This is not an advertisement for Milwaukee. They did not pay us. The Milwaukee is not associated with us anyway. We bought all these blades with their own money. So with that being said, Diablo still delivers, or Freud still delivers with the Diablo line, by providing a blade that is able to cut through spring steel at least 3 times, at least with their amped version, okay? So it is still, you know, a pretty good blade. And would I go buy this blade again? The answer to that question is definitely yes, mainly because this Steel Demon Amped is $15, okay? The regular Steel Demon is about $11, right? So if you're talking about that, the Lennox Laser CT is about $14. But if you get the 6-inch version, it drops to around $11. So it's pretty close depending on which way you look at it. The Lennox CT or the Diablos, you're going to be fine with either one of those. But you will pay the premium for the Milwaukee Torch nitrus carbide, because the 6-inch version of that is $17, all right? So any of these blades that are in, let's say, the top 5 spots on the leaderboard, I would probably buy all of those again if I needed to. But which one would I lean towards? Obviously, we're probably going to lean towards the best one, which is going to be the nitrus carbide, and then the Diablo Steel Demon Amped blades, all right? So that, hopefully that answers that question. So I hope this video has helped everybody out, mainly because it answers the question of, you know, does the amped version really matter? Does the nitrus carbide really matter? The answer to all that stuff is going to be a yes. So if you have any questions, let us know. Hope to help you guys out. Have a great day. Get back to work, and we'll see you guys next time.